Hi everyone, hope you're all having a wonderful weekend. Today we have a very lovely guest coming on with me. Her name is Bethany, and I just spoke to her. She's so sweet, and I cannot wait for her to come on and share her adoption story with all of you. So, once Bethany comes on, she will request to join in, and we will get started. Okay, Bethany is joined. Going on with Bethany in just a second. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you perfect.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because I noticed on recently that it sounds like I'm far away. I don't know if I sound a little better or louder.
No, it's fine. I can hear you.
Awesome. How are you?
Good.
Good.
How's your weekend
Good
so
to-
far?
It's good. It's good. Not too bad.
Good.
Just a little busy with just holiday stuff and keeping up with family.
Oh, yeah.
With the kids and
I know.
yeah, running after my son who's always getting into something.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. How's your weekend?
Good.
Yeah.
Busy, but good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's been beautiful weather
Awesome.
here, so I'm really
I
enjoying it.
know. I
Yeah.
know. Yeah. Oh, is it? You're, yeah, you're a little bit, where are you again? I forget.
I'm in Philadelphia.
Oh, Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I
Little,
know I asked you said I thought you were in New Jersey, but then you said, yeah,
it's
you
very
were
close to New
visiting.
Jersey, like 10 minutes
Yeah.
away. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Oh, yeah. So is it warmer there today? Because up here in New
It's
Hampshire,
it's been like about 60 this over the weekend. Hi, Mara.
yeah, that's actually she's my best friend. I
Oh,
told her that yeah, I was gonna be
good.
on today. Hey,
So glad
Laura.
you're here.
Yeah, we grew up together in Connecticut where I grew up. So
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
What's
Hey,
the weather
girl.
like where you are?
We it's like I haven't. I know it sounds horrible. We haven't been outside yet. I hope to today. Take the kids out for a walk after everything's done.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I think yesterday was a little warmer than
Hmm.
usual in the Northeast
Yeah.
for December. So, but I think it's like 40s, 50s
Okay, that's
around
still
there.
not bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hi, Jim.
Hey,
Welcome back.
Jim, what's going on? What's up? I'm
I'm
glad
just
to
gonna
see you. Yeah,
I'm just gonna wait about another minute just to see if any
yeah,
more come on. It's so nice, at least
sure.
here in southern Connecticut. Nice.
Yeah, is it? Yeah, it's sunny up here, as you can tell. I opened the window a little bit, so to let some
Yeah.
light in. Yeah, I know Connecticut, it's so funny. It can be like night and day with the weather, I've noticed,
Hmm.
texting my friend on Mora and then like family members like, "Oh, it's snowing down here," when it's like obviously it hasn't hit us up here yet
Right.
because it's the direction obviously for the for
Right.
the weather.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you gotten any snow or anything or
We had I think it was Wednesday. We had a few flurries, but by the time I left it was gone. So it was nothing.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's been too warm for it to snow, so
Really?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
even like up until like even before the weeks before and
I
such,
mean,
or
it did get a little cold, but it wasn't to the point where I needed a hat, a scarf, gloves. Plus, I also run a little on the warm side, so to me, it doesn't
oh,
bother me. But I see other
oh,
people
okay.
who are like freezing out there, and I'm just standing there with no jacket.
Like, yeah, what's up?
I'm like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know how some like can do it. I
Yeah.
can't. Even this weather, with my, I have to still feel comfortable with like my puffy jacket that I have for the winter. So, I can't imagine anything. I like anything below like, you know, from 60 up is what I can, I guess, tolerate, even 60
Yeah.
degrees.
Yeah. I could
So,
deal with maybe 40 and up.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad, but that's good. You got the tough skin, I guess, right?
I guess so.
So, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I guess we can start. I'm sure it's a Sunday. It's a lot of people are busy, shopping with their
Yep.
families. So
Yeah, no
obviously
worries.
this will be recorded and will be on my page after. So whoever
Sure.
can't join or joins late will be able to go watch it.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
sounds good.
Bethany, start tell me about your story.
My story. So, I I was adopted right around the time I was going to turn 5. I flew over from the Philippines with my sister, my half sister. We found
Mhm.
out earlier this year, taking the DNA test. Or yeah, right before I was 5. My sister was 2, and that was in the beginning of around February of
Mhm.
'88. And we flew over from the Philippines and to a an adoptive family or a couple in Connecticut. I grew up in Connecticut. My adoptive parents are Caucasian and white, so I'm a transracial adoptee. And yeah, we had a good upbringing, and my parents did the best they could to raise us well. And my father was a hard worker. He was an electrician, and he worked all the time, 9 to 5, Monday to
Mhm.
Friday, stayed home on the weekends. And my mother stayed home once she found out that, they were approved for our adoption, um, after the background checks and I guess it took about 2 3 years for the whole process to be
Oh.
completed. Um, the home the home study I think they went through.
Mhm.
I want to check with my mother, my adoptive mother, about that and see like how involved it was,
Right.
because I
Right.
haven't really dove into that with her, and I intend to, in a easy pace, not to overwhelm her with just
Right.
how it was for them. I know she said it took a long time for the home studies, the background, and just making sure they were okay to do
Right.
that. So,
Right.
um, yeah, so, yep, so we grew up well, but, throughout, like I had spoken with you before prior to this, it was a very good upbringing. But as much as with family and such, but I had my own troubles as a transracial
Yes.
adoptee internally. And just knowing younger on the that didn't quite have. I felt like I was missing something. I was extremely quiet when I was
Mhm.
younger, and all the way up, actually, from kindergarten to, or from once we flew over to, the only person I spoke with when we flew over was my sister. We
Mhm.
spoke a different language at the time. We spoke Tagalog, which is the dialect for the Philippines.
Okay.
That's an overall language for the Philippines, but there's different dialects depending on the region and, yeah, and the family's structure
Okay.
over there. So, but the only person I spoke with was my sister,
Right.
and we
Right.
spoke strong Tagalog. So it was, yeah. So anytime I spoke was just with her when we first flew over,
Okay.
and then so unfortunately that went away. Obviously, unless my adoptive parents didn't get didn't have the education to speak Tagalog
Mhm.
for us. And but yeah, I was very quiet even up until senior year. Once I hit college, I somehow came out of my shell, and I think it might have been just because. I'm sure with you, you being an adoptee, right?
Right.
So just the whole, like, sometimes the freedom um, of a different environment,
Mhm.
you just feeling that, oh, we can be ourselves now
Right.
and such. We act a little different in a mentally and physically, maybe.
Yeah.
So college um, really brought me out more because I just had more interest in meeting in just a different world and
Mhm.
just meeting people that um, I didn't feel like I didn't feel that expectancy to be a certain way.
Right.
So, and I think that's why I was really quiet when I was younger, because I just wasn't, I just didn't feel in my where I should be environmentally, maybe subconsciously. So
Hmm.
that's where my muted personality came from, I
Oh,
guess. Um, yeah, so it was good. While it was good, I struggled with a lot of things as a transracial adoptee. And yeah, so how was it? I know it's supposed to be about me, but how was
no,
it
it's
for
okay.
you? I don't,
Well, I mean, I didn't have to deal with the transracial adoption. I'm white, and
mm-hmm,
my adopted parents are white. So
mm-hmm,
my problems with adoption was just more from me personally, what I put myself through with
yeah,
it. They never made me feel like I wasn't wanted or I wasn't loved, or they never talked bad about adoption, or but we
mm-hmm,
just didn't really talk about adoption much in my house unless I brought it up.
right, yeah.
But again, it was like more of like me. I suffered in silence on my own personal reasons.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I know what, that those words, I resonate very strongly with that, with just suffering in silence because I'm not sure with your parents, but with mine, I don't think there was enough education for them or given to them about yeah, like again, I still have to check with them, but
right,
like
right,
about how to deal with an adopted child. Not deal. That's that's sort of a weird word to use, but how to help an adopted
right,
child to,
right,
get acclimated appropriately,
right. Make them feel
and
comfortable and
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And so I mean, not that they were like ignoring anything that my mom especially might have, seen, but I found it hard to just communicate because of just like, oh my gosh, like what's, how do I think the language barrier maybe in the beginning set that pace, I guess,
right,
or like, anything coming up in the
right,
future. So, yeah. But I was just, yeah, it was a good upbringing, but there were things that I wish that I either was given and maybe like therapy in terms of
hmm,
when I grew up, especially middle school and high school.
yeah. Those are the
Even
toughest, the hardest years.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Was it for you too,
Absolutely.
or
So I didn't have any kind of therapy, for my adoption growing up. There wasn't like adoptees like support groups. I didn't really
yeah?
have other adoptees around me. There was one girl, but we never
Hmm.
really shared that part of, that like our lives with each other like in that way. We just both knew
Okay.
we were adopted and that's it.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of fell out of friendship. We were young, so I don't really know what
Yeah.
happened, but yeah, I never
Hmm.
really had anybody else that I knew that was adopted, and
Yeah.
I wish I would have been put into therapy when I found out. I
Yeah.
really do
Right.
because I think that would help me big time.
Exactly. And exactly. And I don't know, I still wanted to look into it in terms of just there if there was any resources for adoptees
Right.
around that is in the 90s, and um because even now in our state, New Hampshire, and I'm sure probably Connecticut in general, and we never, hi, hi Kiki, hi Cannon.
Yes,
um,
welcome. I didn't want to
yeah,
interrupt Bethany, but yes, welcome everyone, newcomers.
yeah. I
Kiki said I never talked to any one of my peers about my feelings around my adoption. Neither did I, honestly, because
Yep,
they couldn't relate.
yep,
Um, I couldn't talk about my adoption with someone who wasn't adopted because they couldn't understand.
yeah,
And that's not
yeah.
like their fault. It's just
No,
they're just
no,
not educated on that. So
exactly. And it wasn't like adoption wasn't really like, you know, open like
right,
in the culture, like,
right,
oh, like no one really knew you were adopted unless one, you look different from your adoptive parents, or two, you would say I'm adopted, and that just even
right,
itself, right? Growing up,
right.
like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
adopted.
Well, growing up, I used
you
to
know?
always I used to stand like after I was told hello, I'm good, how are you?
Hi.
I was told, after I was told, I would just like constantly look in a mirror every night and just wonder, like, well, actually, before I was told, I would always do that and wonder why I didn't look like my birth family. Because I used to see all the kids at school, like, say, like, oh, like, that this kid looks like their mom. Oh, you
Yeah.
resemble your dad. And I would just sit there and say,
Mm-hmm.
like, well, why don't I look like anyone? So after I
Yeah.
was
Okay.
told, but I never asked, so when I was told, then I would look in the mirror and have a different question, like, okay, so now who do I look like? Like, do I look like my birth mother? Or do I look like my birth father? So I would like
Mm-hmm.
stand there and just like take pictures of myself and create images of them and be like, oh, well, maybe I
Yeah.
look like her, maybe I look like him, but that's all I
Okay.
had to go off of until I did my
So
search and
you
I
did a
found
search.
pictures and then I realized I looked like my mother, my birth mother. So
Right.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it's
And how did you feel when you saw that?
a
That
lot of
the
emotions because I actually look a lot like her. So if you actually put darker hair and make my hair shorter, I
Yep.
look just like her. So I know
Okay.
what I'm gonna look like when I
Uh,
get her age.
yeah. They always
Yeah,
say too, like on a separate note, like when you get older, you always tend to look like your mother, like
right,
or
right.
obviously the father too, but like
Yeah, I don't
that
look
whole
anything like
thing.
my father, and I'm actually
Oh
glad.
no.
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay. Yeah. But the whole thing, like, I don't know, this may sound a little silly, but I've heard when you when when a male wants to marry a female, they always like there's this silly phrase like look at the mother, they might end up looking like I'm like, okay, that's
I
interesting.
have heard that. Yeah,
I know
that's a weird thing sometimes, but
yeah. Yep.
um, you
Yeah,
have an
looking in the mirror
inspiring
is
page
so
and
hard
story.
some days.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Uh,
I love your page. It's
thank
so great that you're, reaching out to the adoptees, being an adoptee
Yeah.
yourself, knowing the experience, and doing the work for, for our community.
Well, because I want to share I want to be brave and share my stories, and I want other
Yeah,
people to do the same because I
yeah,
was always, again, suffer in silence kind of person, and I never thought that
yeah.
what I felt was valid, and I didn't feel like I mattered what I had to say, and that's why I suffered in silence because I felt ashamed for thinking the things I did. But now I
Okay.
want to help people
Yeah.
adoptees share their stories and know that your feelings are valid. Whatever you're feeling, no
Mm-hmm.
one can take that away from you,
Yep.
whatever they are. So
Yep.
that's why I want to help share as many stories as I can, and
Right.
I
I
want
love
people to
it.
be brave with me.
Yeah, yep. We'll all be
um,
brave together as adoptees. It's
yes.
important, and as in the adoption community with the triad, the adoption triad,
Mm-hmm.
the birth family, the adoptive parents, and and
Right.
us. Most importantly, we have to, and our voices are being, just,
Heard.
ignored, I guess you can say with that.
Yeah, you want
So,
them to be heard. Looking
yeah,
in the mirror is so hard some days. Yes, it is. Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. It definitely can be for sure because when you don't have that genetic mirroring, and knowing that you're missing a piece of yourself. And
Yeah.
I never had I was in the fog when I was little. While I was aware that I was different, I was still in that phrase, the fog. I wasn't I didn't think anything about um my birth family. I never really I yes, I was asked, are you going to look for your parents,
The
when
typical
like in middle.
question. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very common. And it's just like, depending on the adoptee, can be awkward or it can be like,
Mm-hmm.
and for me being in the fog, I just was like, nah, my adoptive parents are my parents,
Right.
and I'm why do I need to? I said something to that effect, like, and not to say that that my biological family is any less than my adoptive parents. And of course, now from how I see things from after, I came out of the fog, so to speak, technically about 3 years ago.
Okay.
But this year has brought me more into wondering more about my adoption. But it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, uh, before that, I guess the evolution of coming out of the fog throughout the decades. I know decades sounds like I'm old or
No,
whatever, but
no.
I do feel old sometimes.
But it also feels like forever when we go through this.
Yeah, right?
So
Yeah,
it does
exactly.
seem like decades because it does feel like it's been a
Yeah.
forever process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I agree. So, yeah, so just yeah, whenever I was asked that, I was just like, yeah, yeah, it's okay. I'm good. I'm good. And then as time went by, especially like when I turned maybe mid 20s and up until like especially in the 30s
Hmm.
and then obviously 3 years ago, like I said, like I just sorry. Yep, it's a spiral. Cycles of healing for sure. For
Yes.
sure,
Yes.
Kishi.
And the healing
Um,
process is never over, ever.
mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. So, yeah, I was just yeah, so it was hard and I just and then the more I thought about it, the more people would like event here and there ask me how, how if I was going to, the more I started feeling myself like I might, and still I would say it, no, just
But
because
once it
as
starts
an
to get into your head about it, then you start thinking,
yep,
well, maybe
yep,
they're right. Maybe I should, or
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just, and as the more I was thinking, it's just one of those things though. As adoptees, we're programmed, not, yeah, I guess you can call it programming, like a computer. So, we're programmed to just say to be the chameleon. That's another phrase, to be the chameleon, to get to follow what the narrative for in the adoption, which needs to be fixed, as we all
Mhm.
know, in the adoption world, um,
Yep.
to not say like, to not voice how we feel, like you had said earlier, and so I guess that's why I said, while I was starting to feel that question myself, looking for family, I'm like, no, it's okay. Like, even
Right.
like 5, 6 years ago, like, I know it sounds horrible I feel even horrible to think that it took me this long to get out of the
Right.
fog, but, time, you know,
I know. I
yeah,
know.
yeah. And
Absolutely.
so, yeah, being a transracial adoptee, especially, it can be so there's so many layers, and not to say that we're any better than any other adoptee. Um, we all have adoptees have so many diverse experiences,
Of
whether
course.
domestic and then internationally. So it's not right for anyone to say, well, your experience is less than mine, like that.
No,
But
absolutely not. The one thing we all have in common, I always say, is we're adopted. But we all have
exactly.
different stories.
Mm-hmm.
We have different trauma. Some people
Yep.
can relate, but my trauma could be different, how from yours or someone else. So I can never say like fully like I know exactly what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm. Because we say because we the trauma it's trauma as a whole,
mhm,
we all had experience being forced from our biological family,
mhm,
or sometimes it was not their choice, sometimes it was the birth mother's choice. And that's I take deep breaths sometimes because this is something that's just concerning.
yeah,
And yeah, but we all have that one experience, one commonality of being an
right,
adoptee. And yeah, so as being a TRA, though, there is that for us, there's just that extra layer of the racial side of it. I grew up with a family that, my adoptive relatives were all Irish, or like, I have cousin, they have they have the lighter skin than I do. They have blonde hair, or they have like the blue eyes. My mom has blue eyes. She's, she's still to this day. I like you would think she's younger, like 10, 20 years younger, but and so, I grew up when I was younger, I didn't think anything of it, and then um but but then I just still felt out of place, even
out
in
of place. I was
school.
just about to say that. Yeah,
Yes, even in
yeah,
school, like we were, the town that I grew up in Connecticut on the southern coast. It was just a predominantly white Caucasian town. There was some very small percentage of Asian kids, and then in addition, within that, there were only three Filipinos, my sister and this other um, classmate who was full Filipino. And he's an amazing artist by the way. He has his own Instagram page. Um, his name is Derek Cuvedo, and his work is phenomenal. And he includes but he's not adopted, but
Okay.
um, he was the only other Filipino in our class, and I'm not sure if there's any more prior to us, but or after us. But being a TRA, it's it's just another it's not just another layer, but
An
it's a
added layer.
layer.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and even as adoptees, when someone, despite what layer it is, when someone says, "Oh, you don't look like you think you can see they're questioning," and
Hmm.
or it's just ignored with the fact that, and sometimes someone may say, "Oh, I forgot that you're adopted," or I forget that you are. And that's another, and that's the whole, because of just, and I'm not saying, it's just the whole, like, forgetting, not putting it to the forefront of the adoption world, just like, you know
Right.
so it's difficult for any adoptee, for transracials and domestic, international,
See, what's
you
funny
know.
is, a lot of my family will tell me, like my uncle sometimes, like, oh, I forget you're adopted, but he doesn't. But I just never took that as for me personally, I never took that as something in a negative way, because I
Yeah,
know it was very genuine.
yeah.
So on like his perspective is like, you're my niece.
Mhm.
I don't look at you as like from someone else. Like I look at you as like, you are my niece. I love you regardless of like where you came from, and if like whether
Mhm.
you're blood or not. So I mean,
Mhm.
that's just me. I never took that
Oh no.
personally, but I can't imagine how that is for any other situation, and I'm sure that's tough to
Yeah.
hear.
And Kiernan says adoption microaggressions. Even what your 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 uncle, or what you said, uncle, Bob,
Uncle, yeah.
uncle, saying, just dismissing it in a sense, saying that, oh, you're adopted, but that doesn't matter to me. Like, is that what he said? He was saying, like, you
No,
would
so like what
remind
I'm
him?
saying,
Yeah.
it's not in a negative way, because he loves
Yeah.
me so much that he
Okay.
just like he says it in a way where it's not in a rude, like, oh, like, it doesn't matter you're adopted. It just means that I
Yeah.
just see you as, I never see you as like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like it's never in a negative way.
As
Like I
anything
know his
different.
feelings towards it are very genuine.
Yeah, and that's good. And that's
Yeah,
definitely a good. That's
right.
always that's the important part with the adoptive
It
relatives.
it does depend who it comes from, absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It
Yeah, if
definitely does
someone like
parent.
said it in like a snarky way or in like a condescending way, then I'd
Mm-hmm.
be like,
Yeah.
maybe I don't know what they're trying to say, or maybe they don't understand. But I
Yep.
don't take it personally from my family, at least. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and exactly. I
Indian Lake
think,
Discovery, welcome back. I just
hey,
want to say hi
hey
to a couple
Chris.
people that joined in. Falcon
Yeah.
Storm, Marlene, she is one of my biggest supporters. I love her.
Awesome.
Peace, love within. Hello. Okay. I like seeing
Yeah,
new
so
people.
yeah, it's just yeah, so it was hard, it was difficult, and I think yeah, that's what I struggled with as a transracial adoptee, just trying to understand why I felt a certain way,
Hmm.
like, why do I feel like no one ever rejected me outwardly, but it was
That was what I
more
was going
the,
to ask you. Yeah.
yeah, the microaggressions, and just like, just feeling. And actually there was a time that, now these days, I have thought about it, where maybe it was bullying, where there was this kid on our bus, and he would always, although he picked up, there was, middle school is so hard, elementary school, even when you start like third, fourth grade,
Yes, it is. Yeah.
it's just the age and the hormones and all that
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
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 And yeah, but I remember specifically, there was one kid that everybody on the bus would just make fun of, but then there's this one kid that was always like, even in fourth grade, like at recess, but on the bus, he was like, "Oh, I can twist your arm." And I was like, "Sure, try. Why not?" I'm like, "I bet you can't." I don't know why I said that, but I did. And so I was like, "Fine." And I put my arm out to him and he decided to twist it. And I'm like, "Yeah, that doesn't hurt." I'm like, "Oh, that hurts."
Oh no,
And
was
I'm
it an
like,
Indian burn?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so I don't know why it's called that, but
Yeah.
I get, there's like this thing called an Indian burn where you grab your arm and you twist it, and then you
Oh,
make like a
oh,
burn
yeah.
out of it. And I think it's probably it should not be called that, but
Oh, he just tried. I think he
I
just
don't
tried
know.
to twist my arm, and I
Okay.
would pretend like I know what that is. I definitely that ugh, that hurts.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I think I just tried it on myself one day, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't. We were talking about it with some, I don't know when it was, like a while ago, but yeah, I told him, oh, it doesn't hurt, and then it hurt. But that wasn't one instance. It was another instance, like at playground. He would just taunt me, and I'm like, dude, why are you? And I would just be like, whatever, and just like try to, go play with my friends in fourth grade. But
Right.
being in fourth grade in the elementary school, my sister and I were deaf. Oh wait, was Derek? Yeah, Derek was in the same elementary because there were like four different elementary schools in Guilford, in
Mm.
Connecticut, where we lived. So, Derek, yeah, the other Filipino was in our class, but he was in a different classroom during recess. But I remember I know my friend Moore is like, he probably liked you. Yeah, he probably did.
I saw that
That's
comment.
what everyone else says too. I'm like, I don't know. It was
They say
not.
when
I don't.
boys push you down, they're supposed to like you, but
Oh yeah, right. I know. I do wonder that more. I agree, but yeah, it was one of. But then maybe I mean, it could be something that I'm just overthinking, and that's another thing with like adopt with us. And I'm not saying it's not. I'm not blaming us, but or our experiences, but sometimes we are so hyper aware of what because of our feelings and just not being able to communicate it to the point that we just observe more than
mhm.
maybe sometimes to the point where it can just drive me crazy. And I'm like, I wonder if that was a case of with that one person, one like boy in those that time that of racial
Mhm.
issues because just I was the only one that he just kept coming to me to just pick on.
Yeah. And he
So
never messed with the you said the Filipino boy that
no,
was in.
not that I not at recess, not that I know of. No.
Okay.
Um, there was an instance with him that I remember him in high school telling me that he was called a. I hate saying racial slurs as it is, but
Yeah.
um, I just feel like it's the racial slur for for how some people call Asians. And
Oh, okay.
it starts with a
Yeah.
CHINK. I don't know. I can't even say it because I just think it's bad.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I
I'm not going to say that. We're not going to say
Yeah, no. um so I remember him telling me in high school like I just was called this and I'm like and I was still in I guess I wasn't knew about racism but I wasn't like and I was just like what is that? And he's like, "Oh, that's the racial slang," because he was more aware of, even though he was an adoptee, he was more aware also about his difference.
it.
And
Mhm.
he's like, "Oh, you don't know that? It's a racial slur for us Asians." And I'm like, "Oh, who said that?" And he's like, "I'm not gonna say who said it. I just was said that. I was just told that." And I'm like, "Oh." And I was like, "That's horrible." Like I just felt bad because I could tell in his in his face and his mannerism how pissed and like broken he was. And so it's just as an experience, like even if you're not an adoptee, like in this world, like just the racism, it just starts even as early as fourth grade or
Mhm.
elementary school. It
But
depends
that's
on like
learned. That's not.
yeah,
Well, it can be taught, but it's definitely learned because
yeah, it's definitely
you
learned.
know
And I think
you don't just come. You're not born racist.
mm-hmm,
So
no, No, I definitely agree with that because looking at my children now, and I tell them a certain thing like, don't say this certain word,
Hmm.
don't say even a basic word as hate. Like I don't like that word. I try
Right.
to instill in my daughter and I'll instill it with our son who, he's only 18 months, so he's still just getting into everything. He doesn't throwing things, being a little boy. But it begins with how we parent,
Yeah.
and yeah, so it was an internal experience that I had to that as an adoptee and transracial adoptee that I've had to learn in hard and quiet ways.
Hmm.
And I went through certain things in college. I just remember, um, it was my first time going home, being away in the city, even though it was only 30 minutes. I remember my adoptive mom was saying, "Do you want to go to this college, which was a regional school for the main college? It was you I was accepted to UConn, but the regional campus. And then you can go after 2 years to the next 2 years to UConn after that." And
Okay.
then but then there was another college, Connecticut State University, and she was like, "Or you can go to SCSU and be and live there." And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I said in a nice way, like, I want to live at the college, because
Yeah.
being
Who
in college,
doesn't?
like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. My first year was fun. I could have done better, educationally, but
Yeah.
anyways, I remember my first year in college, somebody was saying like, oh, you're you didn't grow up in the city, like, you I thought they knew that, and they were like, I was like, yeah, I'm adopted, I grew up in this town, and my parents are white. And he's like, oh, I thought you grew up in the city, you just don't seem like that.
Hmm.
And I guess the way, because I just maybe the way I was talking with we were just friends hanging out in the dorm room,
Right.
him and like two other people just hanging out. And I'm like, oh, what does that matter? Anyways, he's like, oh, because he just acted like, oh, well, I didn't know. Like, oh, like as if me saying that changed his mind as to how he was going to see me. I'm like, dude,
Right.
what's wrong with that? There's, there's not, are you not my friend anymore? Like, oh no, it's fine. I just thought you would like know, I don't know. Like, I'm surprised you like hip hop or something like that. Because I think we were listening to a song or whatever, and but you didn't grow up in a city. I'm like, that doesn't
I don't
matter.
even know what that means.
Yeah, like
What
what?
that matters. Yeah.
So, anyways, but so as a transracial adoptee and just going through these adoption experiences, it's something that really changes your perspective on
Hmm.
everything. And as you know that, and then recently this year, maybe in the beginning of summer, I started searching for my family. And hi, Yana. um, and what was I saying? Oh yeah, and so I decided to create an account. I don't have a personal Facebook anymore, but I
Hmm.
created an account through a Facebook account with my birth name because I am working with the agent that worked with my adoptive parents in our adoption.
Hmm.
And yeah, yes, they do. Yeah, they do. It's the Rihanna was saying people have presumptions based on being brown, and I agree with that. And I mean, sadly it's human nature, but then you talk about the mainstream culture in the United States, and you know, but so I decided to look for my biological family in the beginning of the summer, and I was able to find them, uh and I have connection now in the Philippines with my cousins, and especially my half older brother,
Hmm.
and we were able to Zoom maybe a little bit about 2 months ago.
Okay.
It's been hard trying to keep connection with them because just the whole 12-hour difference.
Wow.
Philippines is 12 hours ahead, and just having having a family and a job during the
Oh
week,
yeah,
and
you have to
and
balance it
then
all.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yep.
know how it is. I know
I
the
mean, I
last
don't have
time.
a family like a kids or anything, but I do know like it's tough balancing all that.
Oh yeah, well yeah, I remember when we were talked before this. You and I were working at the same time.
Yeah.
Discussing, and we were like, oh yeah, hold on for a second.
Yep. Have to reply
But
to an email. Hold on.
oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but it's been hard to try to keep that, connection online and stuff, but it's been great. It's been eye-opening, like affirming to me that yes, this is who I am as a Filipino transracial adoptee, and yeah, and having that brother, like I always thought when I was younger, I always wished that I had a brother.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things like I wish I had a brother, but it may sound like a little silly, but I always felt that I might have a brother, and I always wondered, even though I didn't at the time think too much about my biological family. But my older brother over there in the Philippines, he's like 20, 25 years older. I'm 37. He's about 61, 62. I don't know.
Okay.
I have to double check. But but we have the same mother,
Right.
and it's been great. It's been great to connect with them when we can. I should connect with them better. I need to do better with that because it's just and then once we talked on Zoom, it was more processing it and just trying
Hmm.
to, you know, understand, like, really, like, whoa, because it can be a lot, Was it a
Yeah.
lot for you on that?
Yeah. I actually, when I found my birth family, I've started writing letters to my birth. Well, actually, received a letter from my birth grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
Then we wrote back and forth until about a few years ago when I realized I wasn't getting any letters back. I
Mm-hmm.
found out he passed away. But then
Okay.
I started talking to my half brother, but we were talking through Facebook messaging, and that was
Mm-hmm.
really tough because
Yeah.
you have the language barrier of being,
Okay. Yep.
Romanian. You have
Yeah.
the time difference, and you just have the culture difference, everything. So, we can do the whole hi, how are you? How's your day? What's the weather like? Stuff like that. But we can
Mm-hmm.
never really go into full conversation like what we're doing. And then if there were some things he would like reply back, and I would just say, what is this? Like it just used to be like all over the place. And it got very like stressful on my end trying to understand and not being able to really have the relationship I want to have with him because I
Yeah.
just couldn't understand him and vice versa. So I distanced myself from my entire birth situation.
Okay.
Just for emotional reasons. I just wanted to heal and fully heal because that was during like the peak of it all going downhill for me.
Yeah.
Um, so I just want to eventually, when I reach back out to my birth family, I want to be at that. I know you're. It's always going to be emotional for you, but I want to get to that point where that wound is healed. And I
Yes.
want to, I don't want to do it now when it's like it's slowly healing, but I just don't want to, open up any old wounds yet. So
Yeah. Yeah. It takes time.
one
It
day,
does.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's important to take the time that you need,
Hmm.
whatever step it is, when reconnecting with the biological family.
Exactly.
And yeah, and I think that's something I haven't communicated with the biological family yet. Like, I don't know, they have their own lives over there too, and
Of
especially
course.
with
Yeah.
the Philippines and um just the typhoons and like what's going on with the pandemic. Unfortunately, they're getting hit hard over there.
Yeah.
Yes, it is different. Yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yana said,
and
thank you for sharing your story. Yes, thank you for sharing your story.
yeah. Oh, Yana said that. Yeah, and she said that she always wished she had a young. Maybe you never know exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. You just never know who is out there in your biological family until you
Oh,
search,
yeah.
and like
Absolutely.
and but then the process is just it just takes time, and I didn't tell them like why. I don't know if they're concerned as to after the Zoom call, or because it's been a while since I've like really dug into deep conversations with them about certain like questions or just how they are, because when I first found them, it was almost like every day I was messaging them and stuff like that. But then
Yeah.
I think for some reason when they told me that that my birth father and mother are deceased, I just for some reason something hit me like, oh, like not that I was gonna end talking to them because they told me that, but
Right.
I think I was hoping for that as well, in their with contacting them, because I haven't found I'm being told that they're gone, and so it's just like something like, I don't know, it's just a trust thing, as an adoptee, we have some of
You
us
want
have.
facts. Do you want to
Yeah,
find out, you know, for yourself if it's true or not? So
yeah,
then you could finally maybe move on or you could have some kind of closure.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and I think I tell like my husband that, and my adoptive mother and my sister that, and the agent, like, they're telling me this, but I need something. Like, and also I'm I have experience in the legal world. I'm a paralegal, and
Nice.
I'm also currently an investigative assistant with the DOJ, and so, and um just
That's
knowing
very
that with
cool.
that with that career experience, knowing how much documentation is so important,
Yeah.
like I think it's just now in my life, I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
need, I want the birth certificate, I want the death certificate, just so that I
Right.
know that, and I'm
And you
not
have a
saying that.
right to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yep, yeah. And so we all do as adoptees, and that's another whole topic where, unfortunately, as we're not given that right away, even from our adoptive parents. I mean, my adopted mother, as much as she loves me and such, like, when I would ask her a few years, like almost 10, it was even 10 years ago, to see our documents, she was a little bit like
Hesitant, really?
holding
Yeah.
on to it, like, well, I'm still going to keep them here, you're not going to take them in your room or whatever. I'm like, Mom, no, I just want to see that,
Right.
like, I was like, no, Mom, I'm not going to do that. Don't worry. But you could tell she was like, and I just don't, with adoption agencies, I don't know what, like, sorry, I was reading this message. I don't know what they're being told. Oh, I've been hearing what they are being told. It's just, I don't know what your parents told you, but in terms of the secrecy, like, us not being able to see it until a certain age, or I'm gonna ask my mom that too when I get in that discussion with her. That's one of
Yeah.
my things for the coming years, is
Right.
to dive more into what she had to go through for the process. But
Right.
what did they tell your parents? Like, did they ever say that, or?
No, I mean, my parents never held anything back from me,
Oh, good. Yeah.
if I wanted something, I would just, all I have to do is just ask them. And, they'd be a little, I'm sure, a little like taken back from the question, but they were
Hmm.
never secretive about anything.
Good.
But
Yeah.
part of it is I also went off, like, I like to know everything on my own. So I like to do my own investigation. I was basically my own investigator.
Yeah.
Um, I did the whole process myself and contacted lawyers, private investigators. I did all of that myself.
Hmm.
But the one thing I did ask, like, and I'm sure a lot of maybe adoptees might feel this way towards their adoptive mothers, is, I went up to my mom and I asked her, I want to search for my birth mother. Um, it's something I have to do. I said, but if this is going to hurt you, or make you sad at all, I won't go through with it.
Hmm.
Because I don't want to. And again, she never like ever would like think like if I go searching for her, I'm gonna leave her. It
Yeah.
was just I just never wanted to hurt her feelings and like say like I'm not, you're not my mom. I want to go look for my real mom, and that was not the case. But
Okay.
yeah, they
Yeah.
weren't. No, I mean I have my birth certificate.
Good. Yeah.
Um, I mean it's a Romanian birth certificate, but
Yeah.
I have it,
Hmm.
and but yeah, they weren't really secretive. Like I said, we didn't really talk about it much unless I brought it up. But I think it's just also they're just, you know, they never like looked at. I think you're one of the population just looks at it like you're our child and that's it. You
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
But anytime I had questions, they'd answer. But again, they didn't really have a lot of answers for me. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I had to go
Okay.
searching for my own. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
real answers I found was in 2011. That's when I really found everything out.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. I remember you said
Yeah.
that. That was, yeah,
Hmm.
9 years ago. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Keith.
Yes.
Um,
Hi, Keith. The burdens that we have to shoulder as adoptees. Yeah.
yep,
Absolutely. Because you don't want to
exactly.
hurt our adoptive family's feelings in the process,
Mm-hmm.
and but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, our feelings are heard, and
Hey,
it's a
Jay. I'm gonna hold the picture in. Hey, Jay. Um, yeah,
As
exactly.
we're so I don't want to I hate to like rush you just
I
because we only
know
have
this time goes by so
it
quick.
really does. I wish that I don't want to take the chance of keep talking and then it ends on you. So but we can
Yeah,
definitely get on another live and
yeah,
continue talking about stuff for sure.
yeah.
But is there anything else as we're wrapping up you want to
Oh yeah.
address or you want to talk about?
I Yeah, I just want to quickly say that my I said the same. I had the same experience too. My parents were loving, and they were actually, we found out that we were adopted around the about when I was 10. It was never secretive with us, and
Okay.
I feel horrible for those that, that have the late discovery adoptees. It's not fair.
Yeah,
We
two of
need to
which
bring,
are on here right now, as
yes,
far as I know.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not fair. We have to bring that to light. And any person on here or in the, that might be watching this, like, if you're going to be an adoptive parent, you need to tell your adopted child as soon as they are able to understand that
Hmm.
they're adopted. No matter
Right.
where you got them from, domestically, internationally, you need to tell them, because it breaks my heart to see that. Like, how can you, and that's another narrative or mindset in the adoption world. Not Parents are just scared. They don't know when to tell the child. And
Yeah.
I understand, because yeah, I guess that's the empathetic way too. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't want them to feel hurt. But once you know what is going on, once your child is able to understand, the world around them, you need to tell them, not
Yeah.
keep it a secret.
Right.
But yes, my parents were always open with us. They were very loving. They never said, don't like this certain group of people. They were always, and to this day, my mother and I, she's 100% in my search, and is open to me finding out and asking her questions, but I also don't want to just like pile it on her. So I'm
Right.
making
Right.
sure she can take it, because
Of
she's not
course.
getting any younger.
Oh,
And this is
yeah.
very emotional stuff.
Right.
So, oh, Chris says, and if you haven't told them yet, when the day does come back, because it will, yes, yes,
Absolutely. You have to be
transparency,
open and on. Absolutely. Open and
yeah,
honest with them.
in
Yep.
any part of the adoption experience, you need to be, and it's
Whether it's going to
so,
hurt, whether it's bad or good, you have to let them know.
exactly, because in the end, if you don't tell your child way
That
later,
does
until
more
way later,
damage.
yeah, it does. It does more
Absolutely.
damage to your relationship with them as an
Yeah.
adoptive parent,
And
and
it
then,
does a lot of internal damage to the adoptee as
yeah,
well when you hold stuff.
exactly. It
Like,
with their lives and their personal lives after that moment, finding
hmm,
out and such, it's not good for anybody.
no,
So,
it's not.
and yeah, and no matter how young they are, you need to know how to bring forth that conversation in the
Right.
respectful and gentle way, when
And
they're especially,
however, your child takes it, you have to not, the adoptive parent cannot take it personally.
right.
That's a very challenging time, very confusing time for that child. So that's, again, you have to be open, you have to be honest, you can't hold
Yep,
anything back.
yep,
And you just have to be understanding to their situation and know whatever they say, because I use the words, you mean my mom's not my real mom, and it sounds terrible. But I hope my mom never took that personally, because that's just something like, one, I was 8, and two,
okay.
it's not should not be taken personally, whatever they say,
No.
because
And
it's
that's where
just
and that's where the education comes in with the adoptive parents.
right,
They need to realize
exactly,
that.
exactly,
That's, and I'm hoping the agencies now, you know, if not, well, they all should be educating the perspectives,
yes,
but like, that needs to be so it's so important. They need to take a psychology class, whatever classes they
Or do
can
like a
take. If,
class for adoptive parents on like
yeah.
when the time is right to tell your child, whether you want to tell them from day one or
Hmm.
whatever age you decide to tell them when you feel that they're ready.
Yep.
Courses on like how you should bring it to them and how to walk them through the whole process.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but yeah, that's definitely a
Yeah.
conversation at another time.
Because
We're
awareness and
talking about.
identity, yeah, like, and that's the topic of what you came up with the title, awareness and identity. Our identity is important as adoptees,
Yep,
and I hate to try to be like the whole preach, but it's important.
it
Needs to
is.
be
It
brought to
absolutely
light.
is.
So,
Yeah,
our identity is it's what helps us to understand who we are,
of
even if you're
course.
not adopted. So,
That's what I was
if you're
gonna
not,
say. Either
yeah,
adoptees or non-adoptees, we all search for our identity. So,
mhm,
and we have a right to do that.
mhm, exactly,
But
exactly.
okay, I'm gonna say thank you all to everyone who joined today. I know it's a Sunday afternoon, so
I know.
enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you so much. I will be
Thank-
back on tonight at 7 with Katarina from
Okay.
Adopted.org to share her
Yeah,
story. So if you guys want to
yeah.
come back, come back.
Yeah,
7
I hope
p.m.
to try to
Eastern
hop
time.
on if I can. So
Yeah, 7 p.m. Eastern time. But Bethany,
awesome.
thank you so much for joining and
Anytime.
sharing your story. I love talking to you, and we're
Me
gonna have to
too.
do a part two.
Yeah, if you want to,
Uh,
I'm down. Whatever.
you're welcome, Yana. Thank you all.
Thank you
Well, have a
guys.
wonderful day. You're
Everybody.
all so great. Thank you for all the hearts and support.
Yes, love you all. Good to
Yes.
see you. We'll talk soon.
Yes. Bye,
All
everyone.
right.
Bye,
Thank you,
Bethany.
Michelle.
You're
Bye.
welcome. Bye.
Bye.